Hey guys, gals, and other pals. Welcome to part 3 of my Plants vs Zombies Without Ranged Plants series. Yes, you heard that right, part 3. Go check out any of the previous parts if you haven't. Speaking of previous parts, thank you all so much for your continued support on these videos. They're incredibly fun to make, and I am glad you all seem to enjoy them so much. Actually, I'll do you all a favor. I'll stop yapping about boring YouTube stuff and continue doing the challenge right now if you press both the like and the subscribe button. Alright, thank you. Day 1 is your standard world introduction, so yeah, nothing of note really happens. The game does introduce us to my favorite world gimmick though, the minecarts. And unlike most world gimmicks, the minecarts don't actively hinder you. Can you believe it? The developers don't actively try to screw you over. The minecarts also completely change the way you play levels, as they allow you to be a lot more stingy with your sun. I absolutely adore this gimmick, and I genuinely wish that every world gimmick was on par with this one. Sadly, that's not the case. I'm really going to suffer, aren't I? Day 2 introduces us to our first brand new zombie of the world, the Prospector zombie. After a brief delay, a Prospector zombie will launch themselves towards the left side of the player's lawn, attacking plants from behind. Sort of like the Miner zombie from PvZ 1. But unlike the Miner zombie, the Prospector likes to take their sweet ass time. You're supposed to use the split pea to deal with them, but luckily for us, our good friend Bonkcho is perfectly capable of dealing with them. Day 3 introduces yet another new zombie, the Piano zombie. The Piano zombie plays a funky little tune that causes cowboy zombies to continuously switch lanes. I mean, wouldn't you dance to this tune? The Piano also crushes any plant that gets into contact with instantly, making them a rather formidable foe. I honestly like this zombie a lot, both design and gameplay wise. The effect is just incredibly unique, with the lane swapping possibly being either a blessing or a curse. Also, Spikeweed insta-kills it, so that's pretty nice. Zombie introduction aside, this level wasn't too difficult. Day 4 is Wild West's first conveyor belt level, and oh boy, this level sucks. It's just so boring. I would almost go as far as to call it as bad as the Coconut Cannon Seagull level from Pirate Seas, but I highly doubt anything will top that stupid level. I guess I'll just have to give you another Spore update instead. After establishing our nests and picking up a few body parts, we scanned the surrounding area for other species. We quickly found some and befriended both the Dracus and the Burpees, which helped our brain expand, after which we recruited the Alpha Dracu to our pack. We then befriended the Toonks, the Liwis, and the Tweedies. We then did the dirty and evolved. We now look like this. Our spikes have been replaced by antennae, and we grew arms. And as we're about to be born, 99% of our species migrates to a new nest. Am I really that ugly? I guess we'll be going after them next time. Oh, and beating this level also unlocks the Chili Bean. This little guy insta-kills most zombies that devour it, while also making them release gas that stuns other zombies behind them for 7.5 seconds. It must smell awful. Day 5, and we're already introduced to our third new zombie, the Poncho zombie. Their entire gimmick is that they may or may not have a metal grate underneath their poncho, which if they do, they effectively turn into a bucket head. This level was quite enjoyable, and I have nothing more to add. I guess this is the perfect moment to address something. As many of you pointed out in the comments of the last episode, I should be using the Kiwi Beast very sparingly, as it's just way too strong for where I'm at. So I'm only planning on using it when it's absolutely necessary, just to keep things challenging and interesting. Also, look at this sweet symmetry. Day 6 is a last stand level, which I completed with this setup. It was honestly a lot harder than I thought it would be, as I was forced to use some of my lawnmowers. The Piano zombie makes last stand levels a lot more difficult than they have any right to be, as you're forced to either use plant food or bring spike rocks / spikeweeds. I also had no real way of dealing with the Poncho zombies, which sucked. I don't think Day 7 is a difficult level in and of itself, I just kind of stopped paying attention halfway through, as I was far too busy watching my friend finish Fallout New Vegas for the very first time.
The bear, then the bull.
Day 8 is a conveyor belt level, so yeah. Day 9 is one of those levels where the game picks a bunch of plants for us, and while the game does pick the Chili Bean, we wouldn't be able to plant them quickly enough to effectively deal with the large horde of zombies coming for our noggin. So yeah. Day 10 introduces the Chicken Wrangler zombie, and god, these guys are an absolute pain to deal with. When they either take enough damage or make contact with a plant, they release a flock of zombie chickens into both the lane they're on, as well as those adjacent to them, making them incredibly tedious to deal with. I originally planned on using snapdragons as a counter to the chickens, as that's both piercing and AoE damage, but it just doesn't fire fast enough to deal with them effectively, so I ended up using spikeweeds instead. Day 11 limits us to only 500 sun, which makes things a little more difficult. We ended up spending our budget on 2 bonk choice, 2 potato mines, and a snapdragon, and while it wasn't too difficult, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. God, I love this world gimmick. Day 12 is a repeat of day 4. We actually managed to lose on our first attempt as well, which means I had to redo this stupid level. God, I'm so mad. Day 13 brings in the Bull Rider zombie, and I have to admit, I'm not a fan. This thing charges at your defenses, only slowing down when it gets near a plant, all the while launching an imp into the middle of your setup. Dealing with this mechanical menace essentially boils down to you planting something inexpensive right in front of it just to hold its charge. Despite that though, this level was actually pretty fun. I'm honestly kind of glad that I didn't use the Kiwi Beast for this, as I feel like it would have trivialized this level quite a bit. Day 14 is pretty easy, although I did lose a mower to a chicken. I apologize for not being very descriptive, but I genuinely just don't know what to say. So here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that pancreation, an ancient Greek martial art, was featured in the Olympic Games from 648 BC until 393 AD? This intense combat sport allowed almost all forms of physical contact, except for eye gouging and biting, earning it the distinction of being one of the earliest recorded forms of mixed martial arts. That's kinda cool, right? Day 15 introduces the don't lose more than X plants objective, which doesn't really sound like an issue until you realize that it invalidates half of our plants. The iceberg lettuce, chili bean, and potato mine are completely useless. And to make things even worse, the piano zombie is here, which means the spikeweed is also going to be useless. It took me a few attempts, but it ended up not being as difficult as I suspected. Beating this level also unlocks the walnut first aid, which allows us to heal our defensive plants. It won't be of any use to us now, but it'll surely become more useful to us down the line. Day 16 is a pretty enjoyable level where we're supposed to protect this endangered walnut, which doesn't sound too bad, but the game just kept sending hordes of zombies after the first flag, which made things needlessly difficult. Day 17 brings back Dave's flower line, which is already a bad start to any level. It really wasn't that difficult up until this moment, where a poncho zombie managed to break through our defenses. It was about to trample Dave's precious flower line, until his suicidal bull ran headfirst into my lawnmower, killing both himself and the poncho zombie. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea why the game didn't detect this as trampling the flowers, but I'll take it. Day 18 is a last stand level, which we actually managed to lose. I originally planned on only using spikeweed, until I realized that 3 spikeweed aren't enough to take out a conehead. After a couple of more failed setups, I decided that it was finally time for me to return to my roots and use the Kiwi Beast. We still almost managed to lose. Oh dear. Alright, day 19 sucks. It brings back the don't lose more than 2 plants gimmick, which once again effectively halves our total of usable plants. We're also not allowed to spend more than 2,000 sun, which makes things even more difficult. This is genuinely such a mean combo. The zombies in this level aren't forgiving either. I need bonk choice to deal with basic zombies and prospector zombies, but it gets completely screwed over by both coneheads and zombie herds, which means I need to use snapdragons, who get countered really hard by prospector zombies. There's also the poncho zombie, who are an absolute pain to deal with without the chili bean. After almost an hour of attempts, I gave in and beat the level with the help of a few Kiwi Beasts. Surely day 20 will be better. Day 21 is a flower line level, but it was extremely easy. Also, this is completely unrelated, but while looking through the official renders of PvZ zombies for the thumbnail, I came across this promotional art of the first queen zombie, and I'm scared. They're supposed to be a parody of the controversial Evany ads, which frequently used misleading advertisements to sell their game. Day 22 is another pre-picked plant level, and while we do get the iceberg lettuce and potato mine, there's just way too many chicken wrangler zombies to exclusively use them. I'm so sorry, Melee Gang. I failed you. Day 23 is yet another flower line level, but there's also the don't lose more than 2 plants objective this time. This level was stupidly difficult, so I eventually had to resort to using the Kiwi Beast. So you thought day 19 was hard? Ha! Meet day 24. The game wants us to protect these 3 walnuts, which doesn't sound too bad until... uh-oh. These chickens absolutely destroy walnuts within seconds. Genuinely, you stop paying attention for half a second and boom, they've devoured your nuts. It took me way too many attempts, but I eventually managed to beat this stupid level. Genuinely, the only reason we ended up beating this level is because of the Kiwi Beast's busted plant food effect. And finally, as you've probably already guessed by now, day 25 is another Dr. Zomboss fight. Woohoo! I will say this though, this Dr. Zomboss was a lot more fun than both the Ancient Egypt and the Pirate Seas one, and I can't exactly tell you why. It's probably because the Wild West has better plants. And with that, we're finally done with the Wild West. This world was honestly a lot more difficult than I originally anticipated. I genuinely didn't expect to struggle this much with those stupid chicken zombies. Granted, I imagine it would have been a lot easier if I just kept using the Kiwi Beast. I'm honestly glad you people told me not to use them as much as I did, as it made Wild West a great experience, if we ignore a few specific levels. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, as I had an absolute blast making it. And if you did enjoy the video, I would appreciate it if you would consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, as it helps the channel out a ton. And if you, for whatever reason, hated the video, just go and do the opposite. Go and leave a dislike, unsubscribe, and go take a comment, I guess. However that works. Anyway, if you'll excuse me, I've got to play some Fallout New Vegas.